Hey, has your identity been hijacked? And no, I'm not talking about your financial identity, your credit cards. No, I'm talking about your creative identity. Let's take a quick test and find out. All right, so before we take this test to find out if our identity has been hijacked, let's define and break down what is a creative identity. Now, your creative identity is who you are, as a human being, who you are regardless of extrinsic factors. So here's the test. I want you to ask and answer for yourself. Who are you? Now, usually when we ask this question, who are you, we begin by explaining who we are professionally. I'm an accountant, a lawyer, a triple board certified plastic surgeon, a CEO, etc. And oftentimes we stop there. So identity stops at our professional, description or professional qualifications. And many of us don't take the time to really find out who we are beyond that. So if we have not passed a particular test score, we don't have a degree, some of us think of ourselves as failures. Now, when you get to that point where your identity stops at your professional pursuits or your professional accolades and accomplishments, that is the point in which your identity, your creative identity, has been hijacked because you've surrendered it. This now becomes the source of your identity, your professional qualifications. Now, you need to go beyond your professional accolades, your work and whatever you do to identify yourself. Identity identifies you, separates you. How are you separate from everyone else? Because there are many lawyers, there are many doctors, there are many accountants, and you can add things onto that and add things onto that, but the cycle becomes a never-ending cycle. What I did and what I would encourage you to do is to get your true identity void of any extrinsic factors, any external factors. So I am a champion of creativity, an ambassador of wellness, and a pursuer of excellence. And then all of these things, or these three things, explain who I am professionally, personally, in all spheres, religiously, if you're a religious person, or spiritually, whatever it is. So your identity has to be so solid and such a strong foundation that no matter what external factors come into your life, because we'll continue to grow. You might become a husband, a wife, a father, a mother, and you can't continue explaining yourself in a long paragraph. You have to be able to identify yourself based on some internal factors. Now, at the time of this recording, we are going through the shockwaves of this global COVID-19 pandemic. And with it has come loss of jobs, loss of income. Some people have even lost their homes. Some people have had to move into shelters or stay with friends. A very painful experience. Now, when these external things get removed from you and it impacts your identity, it leaves you feeling lonely. You feel like a failure at some times because your identity has gone with the job, with the bank account balance. It doesn't matter what happens outside of you, but what happens inside of you is most important. Your identity has to be able to weather any external shocks that you go through. So even if I lose my job or whatever happens to me, I'm still a champion of creativity, I'm still an ambassador of wellness, and I'm still a pursuer of excellence. So I have something to live for. I have a meaning, I have a mission in my life that I need to do. And it's not just restricted to the work that I do. So I can pivot and shift and move depending on what goes on in my life. When you get to that point when your identity is threatened and hijacked, you really feel like a failure, as I said, and you begin to feel a sense of loneliness. Hey, and you know what? Loneliness is not just about proximity, it's about disconnection. We feel lonely because we're disconnected to someone or something, but more importantly, disconnected to ourselves, to our identity. And when your identity gets hijacked, that can really cause you to feel lonely. But you know what? You don't have to stay there. You do not have to stay there, and you're not going to stay there. I want you to take some time out to really find out, who are you really? And this is why I champion creativity, because creativity is an identity extractor. It extracts your identity. It brings out your uniqueness. It identifies you, as a human being, who you are, without your profession, without your spiritual, religious, all these other titles and labels in your life. It identifies who you are. When you express yourself creatively, your identity comes out. So 2 quick tips that you can do to help you solidify your identity. One, of course, I'm gonna say, grab a copy of my book. Yeah, blow the lid off, reclaim your stolen creativity, increase your income, and let your light shine. This is the reason why I wrote this book. One of the primary reasons is for us to really find out who we are at a soul level, at a core dimensional level, to extract our identity. Is to help us figure out who we are, and it brings excitement, it brings joy. Just learn to take it easy. Take it easy on yourself. Take a deep breath, and don't see yourself as a failure. See yourself as a conqueror, that no matter what happens to you, you will keep getting back up, you'll keep getting back up, and you will come back stronger and better. All right, so how did you do on the test? Has your identity been hijacked? If it has, if it hasn't, no matter how you've performed in that test, subscribe to the channel. You'll get more content related to this, and I'm gonna help you think freely, create unapologetically, and live abundantly. I'll see you next time.